Breaking news tonight. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has confirmed yet another deadly strike, this time on a narco-trafficking boat off the coast of Venezuela. The vessel, loaded with massive amounts of narcotics destined for the United States, was destroyed in a swift and decisive operation. One moment it was on the waters, the next it was gone. This latest move underscores the escalating war between the United States and powerful drug cartels operating across Latin America. And now, the White House has made it official. In a memo sent to Congress, the administration has declared that America is in a formal armed conflict with drug cartels. The document states that these cartels are no longer viewed as simple criminal organizations. Instead, they are recognized as non-state armed groups, officially designated as terrorist organizations. The president has further determined that their actions amount to an armed attack against the United States. Following this determination, the Department of War has been directed to launch operations against these cartels under the framework of armed conflict. Legal experts say the president stands on solid ground. Acting in his role as commander-in-chief, he is justified in taking action to protect the American people. With tens of thousands of citizens dying each year from drug overdoses, the case being made is clear. This is not only a criminal crisis, it is a national security emergency. There is also historical precedent. Similar measures have been used before to intercept pirates at sea and to enforce international law in global waters and airspace. The administration argues that cartel boats trafficking drugs fall under the same principle, a threat that must be neutralized before it ever reaches U.S. shores. Just last week, during his address at the United Nations, the president claimed that these new operations have effectively dried up most smuggling at sea. Cartel vessels that once carried massive drug shipments are no longer using the oceans with the same confidence. But even with these disruptions, the threat remains. Proof of that came this morning, when military surveillance captured the destruction of yet another drug-laden boat. The video, released by the Secretary of War, shows the vessel being obliterated in open water. A powerful warning to any cartel still attempting to smuggle poison into America. For the cartels, this is a devastating psychological blow. In the past, the worst they might have expected was arrest or confiscation. Today, they face complete annihilation. Their boats can be struck and destroyed instantly, leaving nothing behind. For American families, however, this aggressive approach offers hope. Communities bearing children lost to deadly narcotics are seeing, for the first time, their government taking bold historic action. Across the nation, there is growing support for a strategy that directly targets the source of the crisis. Officials emphasize that this is not just a military effort, it is a whole-of-government campaign. Homeland Security task forces are now working alongside the Department of War, combining intelligence, law enforcement, and military assets to cripple cartel networks. The message is clear. Every branch of government, from the battlefield to the border, is united in the mission to end the flow of drugs. This approach is not without precedent. From President Clinton's missile strikes on Al-Qaeda in the 1990s to President Obama's drone operations against ISIS, U.S. leaders have historically taken decisive action against threats abroad. What makes this effort different is its focus, staying within international waters and airspace, where the cartels are most vulnerable. By targeting them at sea before shipments reach American soil, the administration believes it can strike at the heart of the cartel business model. The conflict is far from over, but the principle remains unchanged, protecting American lives at all costs. Whether by land, by air, or by sea, the United States is sending a message to the cartels. The era of unchecked smuggling is over. The president has drawn a hard line. America is at war with the cartels, and it will use every tool at its disposal to win. One second it was there, the next it was gone. A narco-trafficking boat, loaded with narcotics and headed for the United States, was obliterated off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth confirmed the deadly strike, marking yet another chapter in what is quickly becoming America's most aggressive campaign against drug cartels. The White House has made it official. The United States is now at war with the cartels. In a memo sent to Congress, the president declared that these organizations are not mere criminals but non-state armed groups, formally designated as terrorist organizations. Their actions, he determined, amount to an armed attack on the United States, and under that framework, the Department of War has been ordered to strike back. The justification is stark. Tens of thousands of American lives are lost every year to cartel poison. The president, acting as commander-in-chief, argues that he has both the authority and the obligation to act preemptively, striking before these deadly shipments ever touch U.S. shores. These Operations recall centuries-old anti-piracy campaigns carried out in international waters. But today, the targets are drug cartels. At the United Nations last week, the president declared that cartel smuggling routes by sea have all but collapsed. Fewer boats risk the oceans, knowing what could happen. Yet the world saw undeniable proof of the threat this morning, when video released by the Secretary of War showed another drug-laden vessel being destroyed in open waters. For the cartels, this is more than just a setback. It is a shattering psychological blow. Gone are the days when capture or confiscation was the worst outcome. Now their boats vanish in fire and steel, erased in seconds. For grieving families across America, however, this show of force brings a measure of pride and relief. Communities burying children every day due to deadly narcotics are, at last, witnessing their government fight back with unprecedented strength. This is no single-agency mission. Homeland Security task forces, the Department of War, and multiple branches of government are aligning in a whole-of-nation approach. Intelligence, enforcement, and military power are being fused into a unified campaign to dismantle the cartel empire at its source. The United States has done this before. From President Clinton's missile strikes on Al-Qaeda to President Obama's drone campaigns against ISIS, history is filled with examples of decisive action against global enemies. What makes this fight different is its focus. These strikes remain in international waters and airspace, hitting cartels at their weakest points, their supply chains. By targeting them before they can deliver their poison, the U.S. hopes to cripple the business model that has fueled so much destruction. And yet, experts warn the battle is not finished. Cartels may adapt, shifting tactics and routes. Stopping them permanently will require expanded operations along South America's coastlines and beyond. But the principle remains unchanged. Whether the enemy is a terrorist group overseas or a cartel in the Caribbean, the result is the same: dead Americans. The president's message is unflinching. The United States is in a war for its people's survival, and it will stop at nothing to win.